Welcome back to our channel. So then when I take that parameter in mind, of course, different people, they may be looking for different things. But personally for me, if I'm looking for that, let's say that's my objective. What's better, XRP or XLM or something like ZBCN, arguably? I would say ZBCN because it presents more hypothetical upside, in my opinion, in terms of percentage price increase in the next 6 to 10 months. I get it. I totally believe in something like XRP and XLM, but I want to allocate more percentage-wise towards something like ZBCN, because again, I'm in the world of cryptocurrencies to look for hypothetical upside, so then it's a no-brainer for me. ZBCN at the price of 10 cents, that's actually around a 53x from here. Not too long ago, by the way, it was actually around a 100x from here. So I must say I did a okay call when it comes to that, because there's still a lot to prove. So I can't say it's a great call, but you know what? It's hypothetically an okay call. So the way you take a look at it is that when it comes to something like XLM and XRP, they can't do over 50x in the next 6 to 10 months. I'm sorry, man. I just don't think they could do that. At least in theory. Because let's say XRP went to a market cap of around $800 billion. I mean, as of right now, the market cap is already well beyond $100 billion. What could that really do? Now, I get it. I still believe in XRP regardless, but I want to allocate more towards something like ZBCN because that's a little bit boring. Man, that's the way to take a look at. And I just kind of feel like, hey, you know what? What's more likely to even do over a 10x in the next 6 to 10 months? XRP or ZBCN? I would say arguably ZBC, I think, would have a much easier time doing that. But even regardless, some people out there, they say, oh, we want to look for the next XRP, next SL. Then they're entering into XRP and XLM. Now, personally for me, that wouldn't make logical sense if I were to do that, because how can I find the next big thing if I am entering into the big thing, if that makes sense, right? The only way I can find the next big thing is by me, trying to find the next big thing. So what could hypothetically be something like that? I think it's ZBCN. And some people like to ask me, oh, why don't you believe in it later? Well, that's a little bit too little too late, because as of right now, we take a look at XRP and XLM, for instance. It's very easy for me to say that, oh, it's good. But the key for me, at least in my point of view, was for me to enter years ago, which I didn't, right? So then how can I find the next big thing that is something like ZBCN? ZBCN has the opportunity to prove it's something special, but that is kind of like what I'm looking for. Again, when I take a look at Bitcoin as of right now, it's very easy for me to say, oh, it's good, which it is hypothetically. But then the key for me is to get in like 10 years ago, which I didn't, right again. So then the way you take a look at it is this: when it comes to ZBCN, when I missed out on the early days of XRP and XLM, I can't change the past, right? What am I going to do? Start jumping up and down and demanding that you need to go back in time, not can't happen. So then what can I do? Deal with what I did, take responsibility, and in the Ori try to, move on and try to look for the next big thing, which is why I still believe in ZBCN. And even though I'm not telling anyone to buy ZBCN, it's totally, out of my control, because even personally for me, when I believe in ZBCN, no one's forcing me, right? Even if I listen to people talking about ZBCN, if I don't want to believe in it, then I don't have to, right? But then I do in this case. But even besides that, I feel like sometimes Zebec gets a bad rap in a sense that, what people don't seem to think that this is a good project. But if we take a look at ZBCN focused on RWA payments, that's amazing right there. Because we all know that when it comes to these projects that are focused on real-world assets, they are on the rise. And also, if we take a look at RWA again, real-world asset for instance, RWA tokens are digital representations of physical assets on the blockchain. Like for instance, these assets can range in sectors like, art, stocks, bonds. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities also, even like real estate and many others. So that's good, right? And we all know the success that Onando had, being focused on RWAs. And when it comes to ZBCN, I don't see why it won't hypothetically gain a lot of attention during a fully fledged burn if that recipe has been working so well for a lot of projects out there. But even besides that, we take a look at ZBCN. They're also focused on AI-based pay, which I think is amazing because payment finance, a lot of people believe in it. Of course, the whole hype about these financial type of projects that are focused on like the finance space like Ripple and Stellar, they have a lot of hype, and you add AI on top of that. Again, AI-based PayFi when it comes to Zebec, that's game, set, match right there in my opinion. I believe in the future of AI. I believe in the future of finance. What better way for me other than to believe in a project that is focused on AI-based pay? That's a no-brainer for me, really. And at the same time, the cherry on top is the fact that this is pretty much a miniature version of XRP or XLM. I mean, man, it's a no-brainer for me again. Sign me up, But even besides that, at least metaphorically speaking. Now, here's the thing. When I take a look at ZBCN, something that really I think gives me a lot of validation to this is the fact that it has investors like Circle, which is the creator of USDC, the stablecoin, and Swan Adventures. I think that means something right there. Some people seem to think, who cares, man? But, well, I care. And also at the same time, I think it holds a lot of value. They're not necessarily going to be correct because who knows, right? We don't know how well ZBCN is going to do in the future. Even though I hypothetically believe in it, I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but I'm just saying. Even besides that, when these large entities do believe in something, let alone invest in it, it's something I'm going to pay attention to. I'm not necessarily going to believe everything they do, but I'll look into it. However, also when I take a look at ZBCN, it's also allegedly partners with something like Visa, MasterCard, Bank of America, JP Morgan. I mean, that right there, let alone if I don't mention any more, that's already very impressive in my opinion. I mean, other projects out there, they would literally dream of stuff like that. But then ZBCN has been able to achieve this. And keep in mind, ZBCN is able to achieve this while being, relatively speaking, kind of like a small project, right? It doesn't have multiple billions of dollars in market cap. If that was the case, it's very easy for me to just, believe in ZBCN and be like, oh yeah, man, I believe in this. But then the crazy thing is that it's actually able to achieve this right now. So it's kind of very impressive, actually, in my opinion. And again, when it comes to when the market is really going to peak, of course, only time will tell. There's no exact way to know. But in my opinion, regardless, how can I prepare myself for the future? That is just by consistently accumulating, holding, and just waiting. That's it. Because like what we see right now, ZBCN having a pretty good recovery had I gave up on ZBCN and sold. And let's say I didn't acquire anymore, then I would have missed out on this. Right now, is the pump necessarily the best? I mean, not really. We saw a lot of altcoins out there do like a 2, 3, 4, 5x, whatever. So this is really nothing like too groundbreaking, but in my opinion, it's a good sign because it showcases that, when the market did recover a little bit, ZBCN did gain some of that attention. So that's a good sign. And also, I think if anything, that kind of highlights an even bigger hypothetical problem. If let's say, suddenly the altcoin season really kicks into fifth gear, what happens? If let's say I wasn't preparing, let's say I was waiting for the perfect moment. That perfect moment may never come, and I may never even predict it to be correct anyways. Like I may not even get it right? So then what happens? I could hypothetically miss out on a run, which I don't want to do, which is why anytime an income I acquire, I hold and take. I just wait. That's it. That way, you know what? If the market goes down, I'm holding anyways. I'll lower down my average cost. But if the price does go up, hypothetically, I don't miss out on it. So, it's a win-win for me. It's a little bit boring. I totally understand that. But that's something I'm doing. And again, 10 cents considering current circulating supply and market cap would be around $7.5 billion, around a 53x from here, like I mentioned earlier on the video. Not too bad. Especially considering if XRP already has a market cap of over 100 billion And let's say during a fully fledged born, it went to like around $800 billion. Let's say this would seem like peanuts, this market cap again. So I don't think it's too much to ask for. I just gotta stay patient. And you know what? Bitcoin goes to the price of, let's say, right? If again goes to the price of $200,000, $300,000, I think the skies is the limit for something like ZBCN. But it's just a waiting game, and I just hold. And again. And one last thing, don't forget, like, share, and subscribe.